Hi guys and welcome back to the Mighty Blues. It is the player ratings. Crystal Palace 2, Everton 3. It's been about an hour since the game finished and I am absolutely still buzzing. I am buzzing. What a win that was. Not even a particularly great performance, but we showed grit, we showed determination, we showed fight, we showed desire, we showed it all to come away with a big 3 points today. Back to winning ways, of course, our third away win of the season. That's already more than we accumulated in the entirety of last season and the entirety of the season before. Everton, a one away win from matching the amount of away wins of the last two seasons, and we're only in November, and that just shows how good of a run of form that we've been on recently. And this today was the pinnacle of it, wasn't it? As I said, not a particularly great performance. Typically away from home, Sean Dyche's tactic is to nullify the opposition, stop them from playing the way they want to play, stop them from being able to attack, stop their key players from being in the game. We've seen it multiple times over the last few weeks or so. Wasn't quite the case today. I think Eze and Elise, especially Elise when he come on, Eze as well had a big part to play in the game, but it doesn't matter because Everton have still come away with the 3 points, and that is all that matters. Don't forget to go and check out Fanhub, by the way, down below in the description. We will be using Fanhub as always to do this player ratings video. If you don't know what the player ratings is, it's the show where we give every player that played today a rating between 1 and 10, 1 obviously being terrible and 10 being Vitalii Mykolenko. And yet we just go through them. So don't forget to go and check out Fanhub, as I said, top line of the description. Download it. You can do your player ratings as well. You can predict scores for various different games. The more predictions you get right, the more points you gain. The more points you gain, you can spend them on things like pints in pubs. You can literally go to a pub and get 3 pints just by having a good couple of weeks of predicting starting 11s and scores. Follow us over there at the Mighty Blues, of course. Check in at various different games as well. You can input the games that you've been to. So if you've been to Selhurst Park today, get over there, get it on there that you've been to Selhurst Park. It'll tell you how many miles you've travelled, and you'll be able to sit there on the way home going, I've travelled whatever it is, 200, 300, 400, I don't know, however many 100 miles to see the Toffees win again. Anyway, let's get straight into it. Jordan Pickford in goal. Look, I think there's definitely a question surrounding the second goal. Obviously, the penalty, I don't think he could have done much with whatsoever. A penalty is a penalty, and ultimately, sometimes you go the right way and you save them, sometimes you don't. Some people would say, why didn't he dive? Well, ultimately Jordan Pickford saved the penalty towards the back end of last season that kept Everton in the Premier League by staying in the centre of his goal. So I'm not going to be too critical about that. The second goal, there is a mix-up in communication between Jordan and James Tarkowski. I don't really know who is to blame for that. Tarky might have thought that he heard the shout. Jordan might not have made the shout, so he didn't make the move. I don't know. But overall, I'm going to give him a 7.5 today. I thought he was really solid, Jordan. As I said in the instant match reaction, there was a period between when we scored the second goal and when they equalised where he was absolutely phenomenal for 10-15 minutes. He made a couple of really big saves. There were a couple of moments where he rushed out to collect the ball, or he come out of his area and defended well. He was absolutely phenomenal in that period of time, and he was really sort of he was aggressive, but he was also, commanding as well, and he was really proactive. He didn't wait, he didn't panic, he was sort of out there instantly, which leads me to believe he probably wasn't at fault for the second goal, but obviously we don't know. So yeah, I'm going to give him a 7.5 again. I thought a really solid performance by Jordan today. Some people might criticise him, but I thought he was important in the periods in the game in the second half when we were being overrun a little bit. So yeah, 7.5. Right back, Ashley Young. Going to give him a 6.5 today. Don't think he was massively involved in it, to be perfectly honest. Thought he worked hard, put himself about, ran round. He had a go. It wasn't like he was dreadful, or he was at fault for many of the opportunities. I think it was difficult for the defence today because individually I think Tarkowski was okay. I thought Miko was great. Thought, Ashley Young was okay. I thought Brandwaite wasn't as good as he's been in recent weeks, but I still think he was all right. But collectively, they seem to really struggle with that attacking threat that Crystal Palace have got. Eze, I thought, had a lot of the ball today, controlled a lot of the game. Even Edouard and Ayew were in the game, even if they weren't particularly effective. They were in the game. Elise, when he come on, was in the game. But yeah, I don't think Ashley Young was particularly at fault for much. I think he was okay. Again, I'm not going to say he was great, but he was yeah, he was okay. He was okay, I suppose. So yeah, he can get a 6.5. Into the centre backs then, James Tarkowski again. You know, a lot of people will point at James Tarkowski and say, but what about, you know, the second goal? What about the mishap in communication, etc., etc.? Again, I don't really want to sit here and specifically blame Tarky for that because we don't really know who is at blame for that. I'm going to give him a 7. I don't think he was at his best. I think there was moments in the game where he definitely struggled to cope with Crystal Palace, but I think there was other moments in the game where he was massive for us. He was imperative. He used his body a couple of times, using his strength, using his physicality, using his size. I think there was a couple of big key moments in the game where he was able to use his body and use his strength to either clear the ball or make a challenge or head it out. And I think ultimately that was important. So yeah, I'll give him a 7. Brandwaite next to him, I'm going to give him a 6.5. I think he struggled in the first half, I'll be honest. I think he struggled. Obviously, he gave away the penalty. I still don't think it's a penalty. I know people are saying, oh, it's a penalty all day, he made contact, etc., etc., etc. But the reality of the situation is that little amount of contact, is that enough to go down and win a penalty? Seemingly it is today. I guarantee you that within the next 24 hours we'll all watch a game of football where that exact same situation happens and it's not given as a penalty. And I'm pretty certain that if it was the other end of the pitch, it wouldn't have been given as a penalty either. So, but having said that, you know, ultimately it is naive by Jared to throw his foot in there. It's a little bit inexperienced to lash his foot in a position where you know the player's going to go over. You know, Eze is unfortunately known for his theatrical ability and, you know, fantastic player, absolutely wonderful player. But, it was levelled at Richarlison for years, so I don't understand why it isn't being levelled at other players. As good as he is, he throws himself over far too much. But yeah, I thought in the second half, Jared composed himself a lot more. Thought he was a lot better in the second half. Thought he seemed a lot more comfortable. Thought he seemed a lot more confident as well. And although I don't think Everton were particularly dominant in the second half or particularly great, I thought he come into the game an awful lot more and just seemed an awful lot calmer. So yeah, I'll give him a 6.5. Vitalii Mykolenko then at left back, I'm giving him a 10. I'm giving him a 10 and I don't care. I don't care if you disagree. I don't care if you say, Cam, the defence was all over the place. This kid is just going from strength to strength, week in, week out, isn't he? I mean, you know, for the last 4, 5, 6, 7 weeks on the spin, he's been good enough to be our best player. He's been good enough to be our man of the match. And he scored last week against Brighton. And we spoke in the instant match reaction about how it would be lovely to see him getting in those attacking areas a little bit more, getting in the positions to put the ball in the back of the net. But, ultimately, he just wasn't doing that prior to last week. And, we spoke about how confidence is a wonderful thing in football, and a confident Vitalii Mykolenko maybe feels like he can get forward a little bit more. Well, we've seen that today within a minute of the game. He's not only had the shot at goal, but when the shot has been blocked, instead of, tracking back or sort of thinking, oh, do you know what, I've had me shot now, I'll sit off here. He doesn't. He makes that run into the box. Jack Allison plays a brilliant ball in and he gets on the end of it. He then has a massive involvement for the second goal again. Ball comes out to him on the edge of the box. He's there to hit it. He's, in the right position. He hits it, it comes off the post and Dukes puts it in. But not only that, defensively, I thought he was excellent today as well. I thought he was really solid. There were a couple of moments where he had to be called into action for his one-on-one defending, and he had to stand strong, and he had to, he had to make sure that they didn't get the better of him, and he did it brilliantly. And considering he was coming up against, let's be honest, a really exciting attacking line that Crystal Palace have got, I thought he dealt with it really, really well. So yeah, again, I don't know whether it's to the manager. I don't know whether it's the manager's, sort of influence. I don't know whether it's the player having a lot more confidence. I don't know whether it's Everton being better, so he feels better. Whatever it is, he has been absolutely outstanding in recent weeks, and God may it continue, because again, this Vitalii Mykolenko, absolutely sound, no problem. Everton left back, week in, week out, all day long. Let's get into the midfield then. We'll do the midfield 3. I know it's a 4-4-1-1, and I know a couple of people don't like me to say it as a 4-3-3, but I'm going to do the midfield 3 first, because I want to. Amadou Onana, I'm going to give him a 7. Thought he done well. Thought he worked hard, thought he battled. Obviously, he come off at half-time, and he wasn't hugely involved in the game. In the first half. Maybe I'll give him a 6.5 actually, because as I said, he come off at half time, and like I said, it wasn't the greatest first half of football from an Everton standpoint, but he put himself about. He's obviously just coming back from an injury. He's clearly not fully fit. He's clearly not fully ready to be back in this side yet, and ultimately I think he done well with what he had. Again, I do think we were slightly overrun today. I think Crystal Palace, for the most part, controlled the game, controlled the pace of the game, controlled the ball, controlled the way they wanted the game to plan out. But ultimately, you know, again, he's obviously not 100% fit. I still think he worked hard. I still think he put himself about. I still think he battled. And yeah, again, I don't think it's worth going in on him or criticising him because he's very clearly not there. So yeah, I'll give him a 6. James Garner, I'm going to give him a 7. Thought he worked hard. Thought he put himself about. Thought he battled. You know, again, not hugely involved in the game and not hugely influential in terms of the pace of the game. You know, ultimately, I think I've given Garner and Onana, you know, a lot of high praise recently in away performances because, you know, when we beat West Ham, when we beat Brentford, it was very different to today. They were very cool, calm performances. You know, we stopped them from doing what they wanted to do. We were good on the counter-attack. We hit them, you know, when we got the opportunity to. Today was a bit different. It was very scrappy today. It was end-to-end and it could have gone either way. But I still think Jimmy worked hard. Still think he put himself about. Still think he battled. He made a really, really good challenge at one point when, I don't know whether it was Jeffrey Schlupp or one of the other Palace players was about to have a shot and he come flying in and he just got the block on it and, you know, who knows where that shot would have gone. So, yeah, worked hard, done well, but, you know, not hugely involved in the game. Dukes, I'm going to give Dukes a 9.5. Again, I think he was amazing today. I think we all understand that Abdoulaye Doucouré away from home is much more suited to the way in which we want to play, much more suited to that system, that style, that tactic of sort of, you know, sitting back maybe and defending a little bit and being a little bit more secure. But when we get forward, being able to capitalise and being able to jump on the opportunities that we had. As I said, wasn't quite like that today. It was a bit more cagey, but Doucouré's still there when we needed him to, wasn't he? You know, still popping up with important goals. And as I said in the instant match reaction, there was a lot of talk when he was given a new contract about whether or not he deserves a new contract, whether or not he's earned a new contract. Well, ultimately, you know, what's a footballer's main job is to contribute to his team winning games, his or her team winning games of football, and I think Dukes does that brilliantly. Again, another goal today, really, really good finish as well. Some people are saying, oh, it's an easy finish because it's on a play for him, but we've seen £80 million strikers across the park miss those week in, week out, and, you know, for fun. So it's not an easy, you know, ball to it whatsoever. It's coming back at him at pace, it's quick, it's within a second, but he does well to control it. He does well to keep himself onside in the first place, to be fair, but he does well to control it. It's a great finish. And then, of course, the ball for Garner's goal is just absolutely phenomenal, isn't it? It's a phenomenal ball in, really, really good pass, and it's ultimately won the game. So yeah, I think Dukes once again today, faultless performance. Wide players then, Jack Harrison, gonna give him a 6.5. Obviously, he got the assist for Mykolenko's goal. Nice ball in. Vintage sort of Jack Harrison, really, isn't it? That's what you expect from Jack. If he's in that area with the ball in his feet and he's got options in the box, he's more often than not going to play that ball directly onto somebody's head. And he did it again today. It was a really, really good finish. Sorry, Bournemouth have just scored against Newcastle, which is interesting because I've just said I think Bournemouth are terrible in the instant match reaction. So maybe that's my fault. But yeah, again, you know, a really nice ball in. Wasn't hugely involved after that, was he? Still worked hard, still put himself about, still battled, but wasn't hugely involved after that point. So, yeah, I'm going to give him a 6.5. Dwight McNeil on the other side, I'm going to give him a 6. Not as involved as Jack Harrison, of course. Still put himself about, still worked hard, still battled, but, you know, not his brightest of games in an Everton shirt, I think it's fair to say, for Dwight. Certainly not his most creative. And do you know what? Like I said, this time last season, we'd have lost this game today and we'd all be sitting here slagging Dwight McNeil off. We'd all be sitting here going, oh, he's garbage, he's this, he's that, he was terrible, because of how much we relied on him last season. And, you know, I love Dwight McNeil, firstly, because he works his arse off all the time and he doesn't stop running. Secondly, because last season, when we needed somebody to step up, he stepped up and he was our player of the season, in my opinion, especially when it comes to going forward and scoring goals. He's not quite hit those levels this season yet, but we haven't really needed him to, so there's not that pressure on him. So he's still getting his plaudits for his hard work, and because there's not that pressure on him to score or assist every week, you know, we're not really having those conversations. I still think he worked hard and put himself about. I just don't think he was as involved as I would have liked him to be. And then Dom Calvert-Lewin, I'm going to give Dom a 6 as well. Very similarly, worked hard, put himself about, battled, caused problems for the defenders physically, obviously with the size, but ultimately not hugely involved in the game either. Loves a goal against Palace, so maybe a little bit, strange that he wasn't involved in the goals today. But he did play a lovely flick for Mykolenko's goal, but it was before the cross had come in. So if Mykolenko had hit, it'd have put his fair shot in the back of the net before he scored the header, then it'd have been a lovely flick by Don, but ultimately it didn't come of anything. But yeah, I still think he worked hard, put himself about. I just don't think he was as involved as maybe we would like him to be. Onto the substitutes bench then. Idrissa Gana Gueye. Look, he's getting a 9. I mean, you might say, oh, that's fickle, Kami. Yeah, he scored, but he didn't do much else. Ultimately, he was brought onto the pitch to change the game, and he was brought onto the pitch to have a positive impact on the game from an Everton standpoint, and he did. He maybe feels a little bit unlucky to be dropped after last week. I thought he put a good performance in last week. I understand why he was dropped because Onana's back, but I made up for Ghana, because how many times do we sit here on these reactions and talk about Ghana Gueye shooting and how he just needs to stop shooting, because more often than not he blasts them over the bar, whereas today it was a really, really nice finish. Really, really good ball in by the Decore, and he took it well under pressure, calm, cool. PSG Ghana back there with that finish. It was very much like a Messi and Mbappe connection, wasn't it? But yeah, no, lovely goal. And yeah, ultimately he done what he was asked to come on and do. Nathan Patterson, give him a 6. Come on, worked hard, ran round, put himself about. Not hugely involved. Again, feel a little bit sorry for him, because I feel like he should be having more to do with this. More involvement in these performances, but he come on, he ran round. And then obviously Beto, again, same, gonna give him a 6. Come on, ran round, worked hard, put himself about, battled, not hugely involved, but he gave them something else to think about, and that was important at that period in the game. So there you go. Pardon me, I've got the hiccups. There you go. What a win that was. If you haven't already, please do go and check out the instant match reaction. Go and check out Fanhub here down in the description down below. Download it, use the code in the description to get on it straight away, completely free. Brilliant app, do loads on it. Go and follow us over there. The Mighty Blues will follow you back straight away. And yeah, I'm going to go and enjoy my Saturday night. I'm going to go and get a takeaway, and I'm going to go and watch that game again on Match of the Day 150 times over. Up the trophies, get in, see you after.